Welcome, everybody. It's Ron Johnson, and this is Locked On Sports Minnesota. It's Friday. Yes, it was Fat Waffle Friday. And you know what? It's a time for the Gophers to really travel and show the world what they can do. Also, the Vikings, they have to get on the road. Can they win the games they're supposed to win and not do what everybody expects, which is do what Vikings and Minnesota sports normally does and lets us down? We'll talk about all that and much more coming up next on the Roundtable.
This is the Locked On Sports Minnesota Roundtable, your favorite podcast personalities, along with KARE 11 sports reporters, weighing in on the hottest topics. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, this is Locked On Sports Minnesota, and I'm your host, Ron Johnson. On the Friday Roundtable, I got Julia Daniels joining us. No, she is at home. It is not just a cave. It looks like she's a Marvel, like Captain Marvel, waiting to burst through the scenes. No, that's just Julia. That's how she rolls. She makes it look kind of like spooky, like what's going on back there? Is there a cat? Is there a dog? Is there a murderer? We don't know because we can't see that corner back there.
Cat and the murderer.
Cat and the murderer. Or the cat is the murderer. That's the thing. The cat actually turns into something because that's how most witch movies end up going. We got Reggie Wilson. That is Reggie Wilson's wife. That is not a cat behind Reggie. That is his wife joining us today on the Roundtable. And that is Sam Extra. For those listening, you are missing out if you are not going to YouTube. Please make sure you go to YouTube and subscribe. You never know what you're gonna see. You might see Julia get attacked by an animal. We don't know what you're gonna see. You might see me display some fat waffles. You might see one of Sam's kids just walk by. You never know what you're gonna get on our show. We like to keep it live. We like to keep it fun. And again, this is Locked On Sports Minnesota, and this is the Friday Roundtable. And before we get locked in on these topics, I want everybody to know today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Just download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but download the Game Time app today because what time is it?
Game
time.
Game time.
There we go. Well, it's time to get locked in on these topics as we do every week, each and every week. So, Julia, kick it off. What you got for us?
We have got to talk about the reunion of the Gophers and Ethan Callie McManus. The Gophers are at Rutgers tomorrow. We're talking about the matchup.
Ooh, and the Timberwolves looked like they were just sleepwalking. And then they turned it on. Heck of a run in the fourth quarter. We're talking about it.
FanDuel locks for Vikings Jags. How to win a little dough on the Vikings Jaguars game. We've got the best recommendations for you.
And as we kick the show off, we're going to make some bold predictions on the Vikings-Jags game. And this segment is the one you want to listen to as well if you want some locks, because as I get started, you're going to understand what lock I think you should take. So I'm staying with this theme all day. My bold prediction, when you look at the Minnesota Vikings and you look at the Jacksonville Jaguars, one team has a coach everybody loves. The other team has a coach that they don't know if he will be there at halftime. Like, he might get fired at halftime. We know Lane Kiffin got stopped in the airport and they said, hey, just hang back. You stay in the hangar. We'll get you a private jet. We're going to take off. You're not coming back with the team. We know Urban Meyer has done some weird stuff in bars and he got let go by the Jags. Well, you know what? Doug Peterson might be one of those casualties as well if this Vikings game doesn't go well, or maybe the next one. Who knows what the Jaguars are going to do? But here's my bold prediction. You look at the Jaguars defense, and they've allowed some tight ends and running backs at a high clip to destroy them. Week 7, 12 catches, 124 yards by a tight end. Also, 8 catches and 65 yards in a touchdown by running backs. You look at week 3, 4 for 48 and a touchdown. Running backs, 8 catches, 77 yards in the touchdown. So they are absolutely letting tight ends and running backs just go after them. I don't know why. Bears, even the Bears, again, Caleb Williams, I didn't know he knew what the third read was, but he does because I saw it. I watched it. I watched the game against the Jags and the Bears. Week 6, 6 receptions, 72 yards, 2 touchdowns to tight ends. Same tight end, by the way. 6 receptions, 53 yards to running backs. So here's my bold prediction. When you look at the Vikings passing TDs to tight ends and running backs, it's one of the lowest in the NFL at 29.4%. If you look at the top team, and of course we know who's up there at the top, It is the Baltimore Ravens. It is also, which this one was weird to me, but I think it's because Tua's out. It was the Dolphins. The Dolphins just suck, though. They've only thrown like 3 touchdowns, so I can't even count them. Like they get a star and an asterisk by their name because they only have 3 touchdowns. The Ravens, we watched them last night. 65% of their throws, touchdowns, go to running backs. Unlike last night, though. Last night he broke the trend and went to receivers. So I think the Vikings are going to break the trend. They're going to go to tight ends and running backs. I think my bold prediction is, whether it is TJ Hockenson, Josh Oliver, Johnny Munt, but Aaron Jones and Cam Akers in the screen game as well, and possibly some arrow routes out the backfield, you're going to have over 150 yards receiving from the tight end running back core. That is my bold prediction. I kick it over to you, Julia.
I thought it was interesting this week. I just think when Doug Peterson says things, I'm like, what are you – okay. Somebody asked him what the difference has been for Sam Darnold this year. And he said, first he said Justin Jefferson, just as kind of like a 2-word answer, and then chuckled a little bit. And then he said, and then he kind of went on to go, he's got all these offensive weapons. That's really what the difference has been, this, that, and the other. Sam started out the season so well. He's puttered here a little bit, but I truly think, especially when you're going to put him in comparison to potentially Mac Jones, I think he is going to have – my bold prediction is Sam Darnold will have a really great game to kind of go backpack off of Ron's point there. I thought it was kind of rich coming from Doug Peterson whenever he does kind of send some jabs like that, because it's like, buddy, just kind of give some kudos and move on to whatever it is. And but I think that's maybe has something to do with his personality as a coach. But yeah, my bold prediction is Sam Darnold. I'm not going to put any numbers out there, but I think Sam Darnold is going to have a game on Sunday. I also thought it was interesting when he was asked this week about his sneaky run game that he has. He was like, I don't know why everyone is so surprised by that. I think Sam Darnold is more of an athlete than people give him credit for, and I think that we're going to see that through the air and on the ground on Sunday, especially against a team like the Jags.
Would you say that he's finally going to go over 300 yards, Julia?
Could be. I mean, he was 10 shy?
Yes. He's yet to get across that. I
could see it. If it's going to be against anybody this season, I feel like it could be the Jags.
Stamp it in, Julia. Let's go.
Yeah,
Lock it in.
Let's go.
300 of them things. Okay. All right. So to go off of Julia, I think that the offense is going to have a big day. And, it's so funny because they are potentially going against Mac and Cheese on Sunday. And the last time, the last time we saw the Vikings take on Mac Jones actually had a really good game. It was on Thanksgiving. Julia and I were there in the building for that game. Pretty incredible game in prime time on Thanksgiving. And so, Mac Jones, but this was a different defense. That was back then. This wasn't Flores' defense. And so I'm interested to see how he plays against this Vikings defense. But I think the offense has a big day. I want to just call attention to these stats. Jamar Chase now has 6 more receptions than anyone else, 198 more yards receiving than anyone else, and 4 more receiving touchdowns than anyone else. He went off last night. 11 catches, 264 yards, 3 touchdowns, right? He's now the first player in NFL history with multiple career games with 250 receiving yards and more than 2 receiving touchdowns. Okay, I say all that to say it's a little healthy competition between Chase and Jets. I think Jets sees that game and he's like, okay, bet. People probably talking about, he's better than me. Nobody, respectfully, I'm not Jamar Chase. And so I'm interested to see how Justin Jefferson responds. And so my bold prediction is that Justin Jefferson is going to go for 10 catches, 225, and 2 touchdowns on Sunday.
JJ set the regular season single game record. Did like in 2022, I think, against Detroit, didn't he have 200 and change? So I think
he went
that
off.
I think that would break it. Also, hopefully he doesn't lose the game in that effort, like Jamar Chase's team.
Yeah, they've been balling and they just keep losing. I think Burrow has 9 touchdowns and 1 interception against Baltimore this year, and they've lost both games.
Man. They should have lost that game.
Went for 2 at the end.
I picked the Ravens to win, so that's why I needed that win. I was nervous. I was nervous on the 2-point conversion because I was thinking the same thing about the Chiefs game and the Bucks. I'm like, the Bucks should have went for it. But hey, look, that's why the Bucks didn't go for it, because that could happen. You could lose the game in regulation. So hey, the Bucks were what's that called? Not justified, but what is the word when you get
vindicated?
Vindicated. There it is. They were vindicated from all the analytics people saying you gotta go for it at home. Well, that's why, because PJ Fleck probably would have said the same thing. You might win it, you might lose it. So hey, what you got, Sam?
I'm gonna go defensive side of the ball. Julia and Reggie and Ron looking at offense, and I agree that this could be a big offensive day. But how about the defense after a performance against Indianapolis, where they did not allow a defensive touchdown? They scarcely allowed any points at all. They basically gift wrapped the first field goal because of the interception. The second one was against the prevent defense. So I'm going to double down and say that for a second consecutive game, the Vikings defense will not allow a defensive touchdown scored. Mac Jones, notable stat, nerdy stat of the day for me. Mac Jones was the worst deep ball passer last year for New England. It was 6 of 31 when throwing downfield. That's 20 yards or more downfield. The most inaccurate, least explosive passer in the NFL. Granted, not many weapons there in New England last year. I don't think the Jags have too many weapons either. I mean, they've lost Christian Kirk for the year. Brian Thomas is going to be a good player. That's about it. That's about all they've got. And this Vikings defense does not allow the big play. I don't think the Mac Jones is going to be able to explode against them or get over the top. And if you force Mac Jones to have to drive 12, 15 plays down the field to score a touchdown, it's just not going to happen. They're going to stall out. They'll settle for field goals, turn the ball over. Mac Jones, his last 2 seasons is 24 touchdowns, 23 interceptions. He's going to give the ball away to you a little bit. So I like this Vikings defense to again put forth a big performance against a backup quarterback. No TDs for the Jaguars.
And when you look at the Jags, also the defense, the reason why the stat, when you look at pass receptions to tight ends and running backs, 43.7% of their receptions go to tight ends and running backs. 47.3% of their TDs go to tight ends and running backs. So the Jags are susceptible to that. I did the entire league as well. And you got some teams as far as passing the ball around. And Sam already knows this one. So Julie and Reggie, I go to you with this one. There are 2 teams in the NFL right now that only use their tight ends and running backs 10% of the time. They are the worst 2, or not worst 2, but the lowest 2 as far as tight end running back usage. Do you know who those 2 teams are? There's 2 teams at 10%.
You said running backs and tight ends?
Running backs and tight end usage. So when you think about running backs and tight ends usage, Lamar Jackson, because of what he does with the, the play action stuff and a lot of the running, and he always dumps it off to one of his running backs or his tight ends. He does a lot of underneath stuff, which is considered a pass, which I hate now, but you can toss it behind the line of scrimmage in front of you and it's a pass. So his tight ends and running backs are getting a lot. You look at the Chiefs, they're right around 30% because it's mainly Travis Kelce. So then it's the rest of his receivers. You got the Steelers, who really didn't have a receiver option that they can use all the time. So 50% of theirs went to tight ends and receivers. And then the Vikings were right around the same at 29%. And I think that's going to go up big time when TJ Hockenson is fully go and not on a pitch count. But there's 2 teams who really don't use the tight end or receiver or running backs as much in the passing game.
I already forgot the answer. You told us
Dolphins.
They don't use it in the passing game.
No, I already told you the Dolphins are 66.7% right now.
They are just
49ers? I don't know.
The Seahawks?
Nope. So one of them is coached by Harbaugh, his brother.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, the Chargers.
Surprising, I know.
That is very surprising.
And the other one is the home of Adam Thielen. But I don't think they know who their tight end is. So I think that's part of the problem with the Panthers. But it's funny too. There's 4 teams this year that have thrown touchdowns to players that are not a skill position, and that is the Chiefs, Commanders, Lions, and Broncos. They've thrown them to the QBs have caught touchdowns, and the offensive tackles have caught touchdowns this season. So a lot of weird stats out there that I was looking up. I spent a lot of time looking up some of these stats, but yeah, there's 4 teams right now that I threw tight ends offensive tackles into that because they reported eligible. The one surprising is the Lions. They still have not thrown a touchdown to their tackle. I know it's coming. It's probably going to come against the Vikings at the end of the year, but it's coming because they almost had it and then they got the flag. So I know Dan Campbell wants to like really burn the NFL with some trickery. But it's coming, but they haven't done it yet. But we got to move on to the locks. So now we're giving you guys all the nerdy stats. We've given you guys all of our bold predictions. Hopefully you guys use these, but then we're going to come up with our locks in a minute after a word from our sponsors.
Today's episode is brought to you by Hims. Hims, as I wait for just a moment here, quick technical difficulty, and we're back. Your sex life is important, but your schedule is busy. You don't have the time to go to a doctor's office to get treated for ED, but through Hims, you can get a personalized ED treatment without stepping foot outside your door. Hims is changing men's healthcare by providing you with access to affordable sexual health treatments from the comfort of your couch. Process is 100% online. There's no need for uncomfortable doctor visits. Just answer a series of questions on their site, and a medical provider will determine the right treatment option. If prescribed, your medication ships directly to you. It's discreet, right to your door. Hundreds of thousands of trusted subscribers. Hims can help you find the ED option that works for you. So start your free online visit today, hims.com/lockedon. HIMS.com/lockedon for your personalized ED treatment options. HIMS.com/lockedon. Products mentioned are chewable, compounded products which are not approved by or verified for safety or effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
And that was a great job there, Sam. I felt like I was in an infomercial. I really did. It felt very infomercial-ish at the end. So great job with the read there. But Sam, kick us off. Locks, what you got?
Locks at FanDuel, FanDuel.com. New customers, again, bet 5, get 150. We'll tell you more about that later. I am peering in at these tight end bets after what Ron told us, and it's pretty compelling when you look at what the line is on TJ Hawkinson. 34.5 yards. It's not that high. And keep in mind, TJ Hawkinson only played about half the snaps against the Colts. He was on a pitch count. He was not used the whole game. They used a lot of Josh Oliver. But at some point, that's going to change. TJ Hawkinson's going to play 90% of the snaps. So are you getting value on TJ Hawkinson at 34.5 if he ends up playing the whole game? I think yes. I think that TJ Hawkinson over 34.5 is a great bet, even if the Jaguars didn't struggle against tight ends. And they do mightily. You could also juice that up. You could look at his alt yards. You could take TJ Hawkinson 40-plus yards, 50-plus yards, 60, 70, 80. I would sprinkle a little bit on all of those. If TJ Hawkinson goes off for a huge day, you've got a huge payday. So TJ Hawkinson, all the props on TJ.
I like it. Reggie.
All right, I got to stick to the bit since I said that, Jets was going to go off. So to score 2+ touchdowns, Justin Jefferson plus 650, book it.
Julia.
I'm going, okay, so we've been talking about the workload of Aaron Jones, this, that, and the other for weeks now. I think if they give him a break anytime, it's going to be during this game. So we're going spicy as per usual. We're gonna put something on Cam Akers. Anytime touchdown score, it's plus 330. If he's the last touchdown scorer, it's plus 1400. So
that's juicy. Last touchdown score. That's a tough one to hit.
Yeah, but I mean, get towards the end of the game, give Aaron
if you're up by 21 and Cam Akers is out there, yeah, that's actually a good hunch that the backups could be on the field. I like that.
So I'm going to go with TJ Hawkinson plus 40 yards. I think this is the game that he can do it. And the only reason is when you guys watch the film, if you go watch the Jaguars film, which, I mean, I don't know why you would do that unless you want to punish yourself. But if you watch the Jaguars film, it's hilarious. It's some of the passing things they do and some of the guys that like get confused and they argue with each other on film, which is, I know as a player, when you watch film as a coach and you look back and you're like, dude, why are y'all arguing? Like, like both of y'all messed up. And so mainly their biggest issues I've noticed come from the linebackers and safeties. And so one of their linebackers, and I'm going to say his name completely wrong, and I don't know why. I'm going to try it, but I'm going to do it. Foyesade Olukun. So he's one of the linebackers. And then Devin Lloyd. That's an easy one. But Devin Lloyd and
They just call him
Foyer. So Devin Lloyd and Foyer, if you watch them, they are very eyesy, which means their eyes always end up in the wrong spot, whether they're looking at the quarterback and they should be looking at the guy they're covering man, or they're at all the same levels and they're in man. Because I watched Darius Butler break this down with Pat McAfee because he's more of an elite cornerback mind than I am, but I know there's levels to this. And he talks about the levels. The Jacksonville Jaguars, and it's not just them, he showed a couple teams, but Jags are one of them because it's weird. They all stand at the same level in man, and then like against the Bears, they just run into each other. And the receivers aren't trying to set picks. They're just running their routes and they're running into each other because if they're on different levels, they cross like this. And so very bad. So I think TJ Hawkins is going to get lost in the wash. And I think he should have a big day because he is the guy in the bunch. He is the guy on the point. And so I'm going to go with TJ Hawkinson plus 40 yards. I think that should be hopefully an easy one. We know the Packers, the Patriots, and the Bears, all their tight ends got off. Next, we have to talk about what I love. You see the oar behind me. You see it. Gophers traveling to Piscataway, New Jersey. And they are taking on the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. My best friend from Little League football. He is now one of the basketball coaches at Rutgers. So he's been texting me this week about Rutgers and Minnesota and blah, blah, blah. And he's from Detroit. So I told him, make sure you connect with Darius Taylor, Detroit kid. But I'm looking forward to this. Julia, tell us what the keys to victory are for the Gophers to leave Piscataway with not just a groundhog, but also a victory.
I mean, let's be honest. Rutgers is not particularly wonderful this season. The key takeaway here is the offense has to keep up what they've been doing. This Rutgers defense is, for lack of better words, they're kind of garbage. They gave up 40 points to USC, Wisconsin, I believe, UCLA. I think that Max Rosemer has an opportunity to come in and show Ethan Kelly-McManus exactly what he should have been doing last year.
Ooh, burn.
I know, because Ethan is such a fun, little golden retriever puppy of a person. But yeah, I think that the Gophers are, knock on wood, not going to have too hard of a time. I will say Rutgers is coming off of a bye this week. So maybe they had some time to recollect themselves, get some things together. Maybe it won't be quite as easy as other teams have had against them because they had a week off there to kind of maybe work on some things defensively that they need to, because it's just a sad story over there. But I think Gophers, if they stay true to themselves and what they've been doing this season, should blow past them. That would be my prediction for this weekend. I just think they take advantage of the defense here. It's so bad, and they come out with a win.
Sam.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Ethan stats this year, and on paper they're not terrible. They're not great either. But a lot of
the is pretty bad though.
Yeah, that's definitely bad. Glaring. That's Anthony Richardson stuff. But
don't disrespect Anthony Richardson like that. Kevin O'Connell hugged him and told him it's going to be okay.
That's right. He encouraged him. A lot of the good stuff that Ethan did do happened against Howard and Akron. And no disrespect to Howard and Akron, but if you look at post the non-conference, he's thrown 3 touchdowns and 4 picks. He's thrown for under 200 yards in 3 of the 5 games. It has not been great. It has not been great for Ethan in the meaningful conference games. Rutgers has not won since they played Washington, and I think we found out that Washington is probably came into the year heavily overrated. They no longer had their star quarterback, and they've really fallen off. So that win doesn't even look that good. I mean, this is one where you go in, and with your defense, which has gotten really healthy, you should be able to kind of have your way defensively. And they know every trick that's up the sleeve of Ethan Kaliakmanis. There's not that many tricks. I think they'll be able to stifle him, and win this game fairly comfortably. If you can run the ball at all and control the clock and play ball control football, this is like a classic PJ Fleck matchup. He often controls the game against these kind of weaker teams, especially if he can kind of ground and pound a little bit. So I like the Gophers a lot in this matchup. Make it 5 in a row, then a bye, and then Penn State should be fun.
Julia. Or sorry, Reggie.
No.
Sorry, Julie's gonna go again. No,
well, I thought maybe the cat has something to say.
Are the Gophers approaching wagon territory? Are the Gophers a wagon right now?
Ooh.
They're rowing the boat. They're looking good. PJ's like, yeah, talks of my demise greatly exaggerated.
So you're saying they're gonna have to get Noah to build them a bigger boat?
Exactly. No, I think they're doing really well right now. Everything is working out. I don't think I saw this win streak going like it has been, especially, with, the LA teams right in the middle of the schedule. They just, did what they needed to do against those teams. And, I thought the Illinois game would maybe trip them up because, Illinois is improved this year, but they went to Champaign and did what they had to do against those guys too. I think this is probably going to be a double-digit win. I don't know that I'll say 20 like, Sam did a couple weeks ago when he was spot on. But, I think this will be a double-digit win for them. I think Brosmer just continues to grow in confidence and continues to look good each and every week, after that first week where he was just like, oh, the lights are so bright at this level. And now it's just like, he's like, yeah, I'm good. I'm used to this by now. This is easy work. And so I think, it's going to be, he's going to show Ethan, night and day difference from quarterback play last year to quarterback play this year. And I just see the Gophers rolling. The defense is playing well. Coy looks like he's going to be a stud for the next, 2-3 years, however long he stays at the U. And so I'm interested to see, if they just run it up on Rutgers, because they're not very good.
Yeah, when you look at the Gophers, the one thing about Rutgers that they make mistakes in, I mean, Ethan Kaliakmanis is playing okay. But you could tell Kirk Shiraka is trying to run a similar offense that he ran in Minnesota, which is the RPO. Ethan does seem to run a little bit more, because we know that was always the joke in Minnesota, that Tanner Morgan never ran. Like, the RPO was open for the quarterback to take off. He never would do it. So you do see Ethan and Kirk probably coaching and hammering it into him. But this is a game of familiarity. Family, as PJ would call it. You got Greg Schiano. You got the DB coach, who's now the defensive coordinator for Rutgers, who left Minnesota. You got Kirk Shiraka, the offensive coordinator, has been everywhere, and now he's back with Greg Schiano. Schiano is of the tree of PJ Fleck, and PJ Fleck knows Schiano well. Schiano knows PJ Fleck. You got Ethan Kaliakmanis and his brother. They took one of their other DBs that followed the defensive coordinator to Rutgers. So there's a lot of familiarity with these two teams. But here's where I go with this. The fact that the Gophers know more about Ethan than Rutgers knows about Max Brosmer, that's going to be the key. The Gophers know exactly what Ethan struggled with. I don't care how much you change the offense. I don't care how much you simplify it for Ethan for this game. You still have, and Rutgers has never, ever seen Coy Parrish. And so the things that he can do with Jack Henderson, you got Darius Green back now, which is huge. They are the only school in the country with 2 freshmen up for freshman of the year and on the same team in the same defensive backfield. They're turning the ball over at an all-time clip, leading with interceptions. And so this is a defense that's very hungry. They disguise well. And we all remember Ethan with Minnesota. He struggled when he could not figure out the coverage. and he would either dump it off or he would hold on to the ball too long. I think this is going to be a Danny Strigow, Jaw Joyner type of game where they're going to get after the quarterback and look for some Jack Henderson because they do run spread. So he gets to play a little bit more in that nickel linebacker, nickel DB spot. And they do rush him off the edge, kind of like Antoine Winfield. So I'm looking forward to seeing Jack Henderson, Danny Strigow, and Jaw Joyner and Anthony Smith get after Ethan Kalakmanis because this is what they've been waiting for. Also, Ethan, though, like you left the school. His dad sent me a DM about that. Like, oh, just wait and see. You'll hear the real story. Still waiting for a real story. I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen the real story. And so I get it. Parents always believe in the best in their kids, but we're going to find out Saturday. I got my popcorn. I got my chicken wings. I might have chicken and waffles. Reggie know about that. I might have some chicken and waffles on Saturday because this game feels like an old backyard brawl where two quarterbacks are going to be on display. One's going to walk away with like more accolades, and the other one's going to be exposed. I don't know who's going to be though. We'll see who's going to get the pat on the back. But we got to talk about the Timberwolves before we get out of here. But before we do that, we have a word from our sponsors.
We told you our FanDuel locks. Those are the hunches that we have, and we want you to cash in on them. So if you have a hunch, or if you want to use our hunches at FanDuel and you're a new customer, you can bet $5 on one of those bets. If that $5 bet wins, you get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed at America's #1 sportsbook, FanDuel, and FanDuel.com. It's every line, it's every league, and there are so many sports happening right now, a wealth of options on which to wager. NFL, NBA, college football, college basketball, and of course the hallowed NFL. You got the Vikings favored by about a touchdown against Jacksonville. The Mac Jones effect has sent that line skyward. Hopefully you got in the action at like -4.5 earlier in the week. But if you have hunches, cash in at FanDuel. New customers, bet $5. Get $150 if it wins. It's FanDuel.com and the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Make every moment more.
Well, the Timberwolves played a basketball game, and they won that game. We predicted the week on the basketball party. There's more basketball to go, but it looks like we're starting off on a good foot. Those that picked, I think they're still undefeated, right, Sam? Was that the first game of this week?
Yeah, it was a 4-game week. After Wednesday's show, we had 2 people say perfect week. And I think the ones that said a 3-1 week doubted the Bulls game. We were nervous about the Bulls game, including myself. I didn't realize, though, the Bulls were on the second half of the back-to-back. And then Zach LaVine didn't play, so that threw things off a little bit. I don't think I was the one to start on Wolves, though. I think that was Reg, so I don't want to steal the thunder.
No, I know. I was just trying to figure out that we predict the week. So what other games are left, though? It's Bulls, Portland, the Heat, and then Portland again. Okay, right. So this is the first of the 4-game stretch, and they got the win. Reggie, take it away.
Yeah, Wolves get the win, 135-119. We saw TJ Shannon get his first points of his NBA career in his hometown of Chicago. That was a really cool deal for him. Excited for him. And it's so interesting that in a game where they trailed by 13, they end up getting to the point where they put some of the reserves in at the end. Like, how does that happen? They just flipped the script. The Wolves went on a 29-8 run in the fourth quarter and put the game away. And I know what you said, Sam, about, no LaVine, second night of a back-to-back. And maybe they did just run out of gas, but the Bulls look competitive and they look like a problem for the Wolves for what? 3/4, 4/5 of the game. So like they look good. And they were giving the Wolves problems. It seemed like every time the Wolves tried to, climb back into it, the Bulls had an answer, whether it was like Vucevic popping a 3 or whoever, Kobe White popping a shot. And so it was 106-111 in the fourth. And then the Wolves ended up going on a 12-0 run, and they shot 71% from the field. They made 6 of 11 threes. That all in the fourth quarter. So a really, really good night for them. Anthony Edwards led the way with 33 points, 5 of 9 from 3. I know everybody's been talking about his 3-point, shooting. And he's like third behind Steph for attempted threes through this point of the season. So that's, it's all good. I thought what was very encouraging though, you had all 5 starters in double figures. Slim, Jaden McDaniels, 6 of 7 from the field, 3 for 3 from 3. Plus 12 with when he's on the floor. How about plus 23 with Rudy? 9 of 11 from the field in 32 minutes, 21 points. And we saw some of everything from Rudy. He dunked on Kobe White. We saw him, a little Euro through the lane. He's getting saucy with it, scoring in multiple ways. I thought that was a really, really good game for Rudy. And, you also saw a double-double from Conley, 14 points and 11 assists. So all in all, really good night for the Wolves. Good minutes from Dante DiVincenzo, plus 19 when he was on the floor, and he scored 13. Naz Reid didn't really have to do much. He had 4 points in 18 minutes. So this was a really good win for the Wolves and a really good start to this stretch that I think is winnable with a couple back-to-backs against Portland. And, I think they could possibly spark something going on a run. I know on the basketball party, we felt like the Bulls game was kind of a little bit of a trip up for them, but they came out, handled business. And so I think maybe they can go on a little bit of a run and we can see them do maybe something similar to what we saw last year. And lastly, I'll just say you can't say any more good things about Julius Randle. He has come through and just played great. Like Ron, we talked about being vindicated. You, sir, are vindicated for, you clamored for Julius Randle to come to Minnesota, and he is proving you right. 22 points last night, plus 21 on the field. It's so crazy because sometimes with the lefties, it's like, it seems like they're so like unorthodox and so off balance, but like
They are.
But Drew Randle comes through the lane and it's like, oh shoot, he just threw some junk up and it's off the glass into the hoop. And you're like, oh, okay, that worked. Okay, cool. And it's like, it doesn't look the prettiest at times, but like he just gets it done. And he's been a good addition to the Wolves so far. 5 for 5 from the free throw line last night as well. Double for him. I know some people still talk about, his effort on the defensive end, and he got chewed out by Pablo at one point last night for his efforts. So he needs to pick that up a bit, but he is an efficient player out there, and he's proven the Wolves right for making that trade.
Yeah, lefties are awkward on the basketball court. It's different. It's different to our eye. Everything they do is different. I've learned that left-handed pitchers, softball, because I don't know about baseball, softball pitchers and women, because of how the heart in the rib cage is, left-handed pitchers have a different motion they have to do because they have because though your heart is on the left side, so they have a different like release. So it's all this like science around it. I'm guessing it's similar to basketball with your heart being over here and the way you shoot and get it up. Like it's probably just a little bit different. But lefties historically, Jalen Rose, David Robinson, James Harden, it's very like, oh man, what is he about to do? What is he about to do? And they do it. And Julius Randle is just one of those. Like it's very different, but I love it. And again, I love Karl-Anthony Towns. There's no Karl-Anthony Towns hate. I just felt like the money and the ability didn't match all the time. And I felt like too, like getting choked out by Rudy Gobert getting choked out, like they needed somebody to protect him. And Karl-Anthony Towns should have been the guy. Like Karl-Anthony Towns was sitting back like, oh, geez, what's going on, guys? Like Julius Randle would have been over there yanking Draymond off. Like, you ain't about to do this to my teammate. Like, it's just a different, like, it's just he ain't Zach Randolph or Zach Randolph. Like, that was a different type of Debo. But I feel like Julius Randle has a little bit of that to him too, though. Like, it's a different Debo, but a similar feeling. And Zach Randolph was another lefty, like another one that just, you're like, how's he doing this? And he just gets it done. I mean, Kenny Lofton's son. Like, how is he so good? And he's little and big at the same time. I don't know how you're little and big at the same time, but he is it. But let's move on to Julia. He's like, if you just look at Kenny Lofton's son, like for some reason he looks little, but then you see him and he's big though. Like he's a little big guy. I don't understand how it works. It's physics. But we got to move on. Let's jump over to you, Julia. What do you quick before we get out of here? Thoughts on the Timberwolves? Because they beat the Bulls. And that was one game. Again, I didn't know about the back-to-back either, Sam, so I feel like I was lied to.
When I was watching the broadcast last night, did I hear that that's the first time the Wolves have gotten a win in United Center since 2018? That's kind
That
of
tracks. That
sounds
tracks.
about right. Yeah.
That's crazy.
The ghost of Michael Jordan.
Reggie covered it pretty well. I'll be honest. I think when you're looking at this, like from a Wolves fan perspective, wouldn't you rather than rally at the end than like play well at start? And I mean, you'd rather your team play well all 4 quarters, but it's telling when a team can come back, especially the way that they did at the end. At one point, they ended up having an 18-point lead. They nearly held on to it through the end, but I don't know. I think it is telling when a team can come back and perform like that late. It says a lot, not just about their ability physically, but also mentally to come back and do something like that. I do think also Ant was not pleased with his game on Monday, and I think that he really wanted to come out and kind of turn things around a little bit. To me, what we'll be telling, this is their second back-to-back, I think, of the season so far. So we'll see how they do tonight at Target Center versus the Trailblazers, kind of bouncing back after something like that, especially Mike Conley. We'll see. I always say Connolly. Mike Conley.
2 syllables.
Yeah. I always get him and Tim's last name.
Yeah.
But I think tonight we'll be telling, too, in that it's their second back-to-back. They lost their second game of a back-to-back and their first back-to-back of the season. So tonight we'll see how they do.
Yeah, they really stunk in that Spurs game. This is the Blazers, though, that they're dealing with. That should be a W, and it's at home, which helps as well. There's a theme developing on this show, isn't there? All of the teams should just beat the teams they're supposed to beat this weekend. That's the Vikings, the Gophers, the Timberwolves, and I know we're not talking hockey on this show, but the Wild as well are playing some bad teams on the West Coast. I would say about the Wolves, the defense right now has an ability to lock in when they need to lock in. They are not as statistically dominant as they were last year. Defensive rating overall is 15th right now, so dead center of the league. But isolate it to 4th quarter defensive rating, and the Wolves suddenly are 6th. So they are defending when they need to defend. That was the case last night. That was the case in the win against Sacramento. You know, the win against like the final 3 minutes against Denver. They locked in on defense. So I at least they have a switch to flip, and they're able to do that when they need to do that. Now, if we can get consistent effort for all 4 quarters, that'd be helpful. But this is what happens sometimes when you're coming off a Western Finals run. You have to go through the motions for a few weeks before you really get fully engaged. 5-3 is a nice record, and that thing could balloon to 8-3, 9-3 in the next week with the opponents they have. So good for the Wolves. Anthony Edwards, beast mode in the 4th quarter. And now tonight should be another win.
And here's where I go with it. I picked, I think I said 3-1. I don't know if these next 3, Trailblazers twice, and then the Heat, if they're going to fall to one of those. If they go 4-0, because I don't think I picked 4-0. Maybe I did. I don't remember. I thought I did 3-1 though.
I think you did 3-1, but you didn't know which loss they would have. You just thought they would drop
to lose one. And so when you look at that, if they can go 4-0, that's turning a page, as they would say, in beating the teams you're supposed to beat, because that's what Minnesota sports has been. You win, and then you're like, wait, did you guys lose to the Charlotte Hornets? What are you doing? And so you will hope that they can get across that threshold. Also, these are 3 great games to continue to gel and figure out this Julius Randle, Anthony Edwards bit. I think Reggie was dead on with they started off sleepwalking. Like, it just seemed like, I don't know if it was maybe the energy of the other team coming off of a back-to-back, and they're just like, yeah, we're matching their energy. It just seemed off. But if they can win these next 3, I think that gives them a lot of like energy towards teammates. Hey, here's what we have. Hey, here's what's going on. You know what's funny? The Knicks are not in the media a lot. I thought the Knicks would be in the media way more on the national stage. Now, I guess there's a lot of other stuff going on in the East. There's a lot of other sports going on for ESPN and all these other networks and Care 11 and like NBC and everybody. Like, nobody's really like they talked about Karl-Anthony Towns for like one day about like, oh, he got so many free throws, and now we're not hearing anymore. So I'm wondering, it's going to come up. I wonder if the New York media is going to start to really come down hard on him. Before we get out of here, I do want to give you guys a quick fun one. You know, I love to do the fun ones on the way out the door. It's our old friend Kirk Cousins. We know the Falcons are going to be in U.S. Bank Stadium at some point, and the Atlanta Falcons woke up this morning and their social media team chose violence. I don't know if you guys have seen social media of the Falcons today. If you have not, great. The Falcons players, don't go on it yet, Julia. Don't cheat. The Falcons players were asked, because you know everybody does the cam off the field thing. They were asked, who is your celebrity crush? And a lot of players, like you could see them hiding from the question, they're like, I'm married. You like, I'm married. Like y'all not about to set me up. And the tagline is, we sure don't love the drama like they think we do. And so because all the players are like, oh, y'all just trying to start stuff. Y'all ain't about to have my wife mad at me. Do you think Kirk Cousins picked a celebrity, or do you think he went with the wife? Because some players pick their wives. Some players actually pick. Some players are single. So you saw some Hailey Bieber. Like, I didn't even know Hailey Bieber was a celebrity crush for guys, but Hailey Bieber was thrown out there. Somebody said the Pink Power Ranger. Alicia Keys got a couple nominations. What was the other one? Margot Robbie, which I'm not mad at that one. Like, I totally get it. But Kirk Cousins, what do you guys think he did? Quick, Julia.
I bet he said some old lady or something like that.
Reggie.
I'm going to go wife.
Sam.
Yeah, I think he had kind of a nerdy one, like all locked and loaded, ready to go, like Meryl Streep or something like that. I think he said someone.
Kirk said someone with no hesitation. So he must have a hall pass. Carrie Underwood.
Oh my gosh, that crossed my mind. I
right,
almost said
Carrie Underwood, Sunday Night Football intro. Or was she Monday night or Sunday night? Which one was
Sunday.
she? Sunday Night Football intro.
Waiting all day.
So
Sunday night.
Yep. Kirk Cousins with no. So the comment section is hilarious. They're like, oh, Kirk with no hesitation.
He's been thinking about that.
I gotta go look.
It almost looked like he was about to say more though, because he had the hands out. Like, so I think they cut him or something, maybe, you know. But yeah, he right away was Carrie Underwood. Yep. Yep. Wouldn't. Yeah, that's my. Yep. Wouldn't hesitate. Like, so I'm loving this Kirk, because the old Kirk would have said his wife, or he would have said, like, I do see the quirky old, like Dolly Parton or something.
He said definitely Carrie Underwood. He was about to list some other
exactly.
Like wait a minute, Kirk. What's going on?
He had the hands out. Like he's
in Atlanta acting different.
Exactly. Peace up, A-Town down. It have changed Kirk. He's got the
Magic City or something.
Oh my goodness. He got the Scully. He's in Magic City. Like Kirk is Kirking it up down there. Quavo chains. Like they got all kinds of stuff going on. But yeah,
surfing.
Kirk's got a list of celebrity crushes. Like that's I don't know if anybody's gonna ask him if he ends up getting interviewed when he comes back to Minnesota on the field, like just to have some fun with him, to get him loose. But I would love to see the rest of that list, because Kirk's got a list, and I'm proud of Kirk, because you know what? Like, be you, man, be you. But I'm Ron Johnson. That's Julia Daniels. That's Reggie Wilson. That's Sam Ekstrom. The Minnesota Vikings are headed to Jacksonville. The Golden Gophers leave today, and they're headed to Piscataway. And then we also have the Timberwolves with a couple games. Trailblazers. And who was the other one, Sam?
Heat.
The Heat. The Jimmy Butler. Is that done now, though? Are we done with Jimmy Butler versus the Timberwolves? Like, is it kind of over now? Cat's gone. Andrew Wiggins is gone. Like, I think it's dead now. Like, there's no Anthony Edwards in him. Like, they kind of like go at it, and they're cool now. So we can bury the Jimmy Butler. Like, there's no more hate. Tibbs isn't even here anymore. So maybe Jimmy Butler hates the Knicks now. Like, that's what I want to see. But the Dante DiVincenzo versus the Knicks, I'm waiting for that one. But I hope you guys have a great weekend. This has been Locked On Sports Minnesota. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube, and make sure you also hit the follow button or wherever you're getting your podcast.
Smash.
Get updates. Smash the button. Have a great weekend, people.